Okay, 1 second, sir. And I'm waiting on the notification. And thank you again. Okay, perfect. Boom. And we are live. I want to thank everyone for tuning in to a very special edition of Off the Record on the People's Podcast this evening. We have an incredible guest with us, one who we are very humbled to have with us, none other than Dr. Alim Muhammad, who's going to give us some amazing information as well as inspiration. And on behalf of myself, my family, and the viewing audience of the People's Podcast, Assalamu alaikum, sir.
Wa alaikum salam.
This means I'm doing great, sir. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you for working hard in his name, trying to make my word my bond.
Oh, praise is due to Allah. This means so much to me, sir. Yesterday was, of course, Savior's Day, the birth anniversary of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And I was studying his videos on YouTube. And I was also studying your videos on YouTube and all of the times that you've spoken at Savior's Day and different events to be prepared to have some questions for you, sir. The first question that we have for you is, why is it important that we know who the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad is?
Before I try to answer the question, there was an echo. I don't hear it now. I guess we fixed it. Okay.
Okay, yes, sir.
Okay. Why is it important? Well, I'll answer it from my perspective, personally. Why was it important for me to know the Honorable Elijah Muhammad? So I could stay alive. I mean, literally. If I did not know the Honorable Elijah Muhammad on a certain day in 1968, at the age of 20 years old, if I had not known the name Elijah Muhammad, I would be dead. Because a man with a gun pointed at my head because of some terrible thing I had done in my past life, that gets people killed. So I would have been one of those statistics, young black man with a bullet wound in the back of his head. That would have been me. But when the brother approached me, I said out of my mouth, I said, brother, I'm not with that anymore. I'm with Mohammed. And it stunned him. And here's what he said. Excuse the language. He said, nigger. He said, I didn't think there was anything in this world that you could say that would stop me from killing you. He said, but you came up with it. He lowered the gun. He said, I'm going to be watching you. He said, if you're jiving, you're going to see me again. So I said, you know what, brother? Just to make sure that you do see me again, let me get your name and address, and you become my Muhammad Speaks paper customer. And so, brother's name was Billy. So Billy saw me every Saturday morning. I was knocking on Billy's door. Here's your Muhammad Speaks, sir. See, now we never became friends. But I often thought to myself, what does he think happened on that day? See, I know what I think happened. I think the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's name saved my life. You see, I think that man saved my life. And so since that day, you see, every breath that I take since that day, I owe it to that man, because I wouldn't have had any more life in me with a bullet in my head. You don't recover from that. You see, so that's how grateful I am. There is no end to the gratitude. You know, even at the end of my life, I would not repay the debt that I owe to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. So now that's my personal story. And I think that anybody that is in the Nation of Islam or who has been blessed to know something of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, maybe they don't have a story that's just as dramatic as the one that I just told that happened to me. But in their own way, everybody has their own story. You see, and what is the saving grace for any one of them? It could be something like what happened to me, or it could just be a word spoken, an idea, a concept, something that had you going in the wrong direction suddenly turns you around and now you're going in the right direction.
Yes, sir.
So everybody has a story like that. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad, you say, why is it important to know who he is? Because he's your savior. He's going to save your life. And there's nobody else besides him that's going to save your life, because nobody else was ever qualified to save your life, because nobody else had the teaching, or the teacher, I should say, that he had. There's nobody else that ever came before us and said, God was my teacher. You see, and so that's what attracted me to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. You say God was your teacher? Well, I suppose you could teach me a thing or two then. And he did.
Praise be to Allah. Yes, sir. Okay, Dr. Alim, I want to read some of the comments. My sister Miriam sends the greetings. My uncle, Minister Jamil, sends the greetings. Sister Latasha says, praise be to Allah. Brother Mandine says that he's watching in Chicago. So many people are watching all over the country. Thank you all. You continue to like, share, subscribe to the People's Podcast. Now, where was this incident? Where did this take place, sir? Because you said Muhammad speaks, so this had to be prior to 75. So where did this incident take place?
Oh, this was in Dayton, Ohio. This was in Dayton, Ohio. See, I was a college student. And so I was the local campus reefer man.
Okay.
I made everybody happy. Everybody knew me. And so we were a bunch of college students up there. And see, I got into trouble because my supply dried up. And then I tried to, I did rob somebody. I shouldn't tell on myself like that, but I did. And that's what the brother was mad at, because I robbed somebody because somebody robbed me. You see, but that was all in the South, what would you call it, Southwestern Ohio region, Dayton, Cincinnati. See, that's where your people are from.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Your grandfather, Leonard Ball. He was
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You know, so we were a bunch of politically active college students who heard the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. We heard it from one of our fellow students out of New York, Brother Alton X. Patterson. And he was a college student, but he had come up in the mosque under Malcolm X. He was a super student, you know, and so he used to hold little lectures and seminars and teach the rest of us. And then, of course, Minister Farrakhan was on the national radio broadcast in every city across the country. You see, and then Muhammad Speaks was on sale everywhere. And so being a Black Revolutionary college student, in order to really qualify as a Black Revolutionary, you had to read Muhammad Speaks. So you could track down where were the Muslims selling the paper, because you had to keep up to date. And the only way you could keep up to date was to read Muhammad Speaks. So now that's actually what happened. You know, you say the impact of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Well, that happened one night in April 1968. It was right after they killed my hero, Dr. King. They shot him down like a dog. And I was really in a state of grief. And so I had smoked up. I was so high, I didn't know what I was doing. And I broke one of my rules. See, one of my rules as a revolutionary was I was never going to get involved with religion. See, that was no. So even though I was reading Muhammad Speaks, I made sure I never read the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's article, because that was religion. But this particular night, I was so high, I went ahead and read his article anyway. And it blew my high, and it blew my mind.
Yes, sir. Yes,
and
sir.
I remember the brother from New Jersey, from Trenton, New Jersey, named Hank Ganji, a fellow student, and he had actually been to the mosque. And he had come back with this book called Message to the Black Man. Here in the middle of the night, I'm running across the campus. I'm knocking on Hank Ganji's door, waking him up. And I'm saying, where's that book? He said, what book? That book you brought back from the Black Muslim book. I didn't even know what the name of it was. And so he found the book somewhere, and I took that book back to my dormitory room, and I read the first 13 pages. And my mind was already blown. But by the time I couldn't take no more. That first 13 pages was just it. And so after that, my mind was locked on who is this man that wrote this article. It was Daniel's vision. That was the article Muhammad speaks, his interpretation of Daniel's vision. And that was the most revolutionary interpretation of scripture that I had ever read. Matter of fact, I didn't know scripture was revolutionary till I met the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. I thought scripture was for old fogey people, it wasn't up to date. But he brought that scripture all the way up to date, and I could understand geopolitics better than anything that Marx ever wrote. That stuff that Marx was talking about, and all these so-called revolutionaries, Angela Davis, all the rest of them, with their confused political Marxist left-wing rhetoric that was bordering on atheism. I couldn't understand all that stuff. But the Honorable Elijah Muhammad made it plain as day.
Yes, sir.
And then, see, the thing about it was, see, he put that picture. See, he put that picture on the back of the paper. There was something hypnotic about that picture. And I used to look at that picture, and I couldn't take my eyes off that picture. And that picture used to just draw me in. And then, you see, as I learned more and more about what the man was doing, he was building schools, he was building businesses and farms and all kinds of things. And the more I found out about what he was doing, I just became ashamed of myself. I was ashamed of myself because everything that he said, that I said I wanted to do, that Black people should be doing, he was already doing. And here I was just sitting around smoking reefer, reading newspapers. And then I got to the point I couldn't hardly look at the picture no more because I was so ashamed of myself sitting around doing nothing. You see, so that's what compelled me to actually go to the closest mosque was in Dayton, Ohio, mosque number 19. And so it was around this time of the year, and I'm going up the steps to the mosque. I had cut off my afro, sold my rifles and my guns, and I gave away all my reefer. Because I had made up my mind. I had to get with Muhammad. I couldn't live with myself, him doing all that work by himself, and I'm sitting around doing nothing, talking rhetoric. So I'm climbing up the steps to go into the mosque, and a voice goes off in my ear. And it says, there's nothing wrong with the Nation of Islam. It needs to be organized. And I went on right through the door and signed up. And I've been with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad ever since.
Beautiful, beautiful testimony. So many people are showing you love right now. So many people are liking, sharing. And thank you all. Thank you, Naima, for sending the greeting. My sister sending the greeting. Brother Quincy sending the greeting. Brother Brandon. And some people saying Assalamu alaikum. Some people showing you all love, showing you love. Yes, sir. My next question for you, sir. The reason I keep stressing the title Dr. Alim is because that's something that has been standing out to me as I went back to college. I started to see some of the Mohammed Muhammad's great help had titles. People who were educated. The Mohammed Farrakhan had people who were educated. How important has your education been to helping our people?
Oh, well, I wouldn't be educated if it wasn't for the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. I mean, the truth be told, the only reason I went to college was to stay out of the war in Vietnam. I mean, I was actually interested in learning anything. I was a poet and a big mouth revolutionary, but I mean, I wasn't actually doing anything serious. But when I joined the nation, okay, now it's nation time. So I was kind of doing Black studies, and so the minister at the mosque said, "What do you study? You're going to the devil to teach you Black studies." Does that make sense? And so I said, well, okay, what would be more relevant to nation building? I changed my major from literature to education. And that wasn't actually very challenging to me. So then I went to the other extreme. I said, okay, well, what's the most difficult subject that there possibly could be? And at the time, I thought it was medicine. Since that time, I learned that's not true. But at the time, I thought it was medicine. So I said, I'm going to be a doctor. But then all the Muslims were telling me that Muslims didn't need no doctor. That Muslims didn't, we don't need no doctor. So I wrote the Hon Elijah Muhammad a letter. And I asked him the question, is it okay for a follower of his to study medicine? So then I got an answer back in about 2 weeks. And it blew my mind to get a letter from the Hon Elijah Muhammad. And he gave me the greetings. And he said, dear brother. And that blew my mind. Think about the Hon Elijah Muhammad calling you brother. Think about that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
He said, dear brother, we need everything in the building of a nation. We need everything in the building of a nation. He wasn't telling me what to do. He said, we need everything in the building of a nation. Then the second sentence was, you know what you are qualified to do. That. He's telling me, you know what you are qualified to do.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But you know what you are qualified to do. Then the third sentence was, may Allah bless you with success.
Praise be to Allah. Beautiful.
The Hon Elijah Muhammad, the messenger of Allah. Well, that's all I needed. So I told everybody in the mosque, I told them, I said, well, Hon Elijah Muhammad said it's okay to be a doctor. So then they started calling me brother doctor. I hadn't even changed my major yet. I wasn't even officially a pre-med student, and all the believers started calling me brother doctor this, brother doctor that. And then later on, when I found out how difficult the subject matter was, taking calculus and physics and biochemistry and all of that, and I had to do a full curriculum in 2 years because I started so late. So I had to double up on everything. You see, so when I found out how difficult biochemistry is, I was going to quit. But the only thing that stopped me from quitting was I never could figure out what to tell the believer that would justify me quitting. That I never could explain it to them, so I couldn't quit. I had to keep going. And now that's an aspect of Islam, you see, that is often overlooked. I mean, we talk about belief. And you see, we talk about belief in the Supreme Being, in Allah, especially Allah who came to us in the person of Master Farad Muhammad. And that was another thing that roped me into the nation. When I found out that God was a man. See, that's all I needed. So you talking about this spook God religious stuff. I ain't going for that. But now you talking about God is a man? Oh, okay, explain. Okay, I can understand that. See, so I was roped in. You see, so we don't want to believe in superstition and spook God. Well, then what do you believe in? Well, if we understand that God is a man and he appeared in the person of Master Farad Muhammad, well, sure, we're justified to believe in him. We're justified in believing in the one that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad believed in. And because of his wonderful works and teachings to us and his wonderful example in our midst, we're justified in believing in the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. But guess what? We're also justified in believing in one another. See, because the believers who believed in Allah and believed in his messenger, they also believed in me. So, wet behind the ears college students who don't know nothing about nothing, they believe that somehow, through some miracle, that I could become a doctor. As ridiculous as that idea. Here I was just a few days ago, just a reefer smoking thug, lazy college student, draft dodging. They actually believed that I could become a doctor.
All praises due to Allah. Yes, sir.
But then me, I couldn't let them down. And that's what we should always think about. See, my wife, and a lot of the people maybe on the call, they remember my wife, mashallah. See, every time before we would go out, see, we were constant companions. You see, so every day before we would go out the door, she would turn to me and she would point her finger in my face. And she would say, remember, honey, we have to be good examples. And that's, you see, so that someone can believe in you. See, sometimes we go to extremes. You know, we take the teaching out of proper bounds and context. Then we find out that the black man is God. And you know, some brothers, they go crazy when they hear
yes,
that.
Sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Ye are all God's children of the Most High God. That's all true. We know that's true. Even Hon Elijah Muhammad said that every Muslim is an Allah. You see, so we know that we are God. But really, the question that I would ask anybody before you go too far with that is, yeah, you are God, but how many people believe in you? How many people worship you? How many people have built shrines to your name? See, how many people sacrifice and pray to you? How many prayers have you answered? I'm not saying it's impossible for you to answer somebody's prayer, because it is possible for you to do that.
Yes, sir.
It is possible for somebody to follow you. It is possible for somebody to believe in you. But on the other hand, are you doing that which would bring forth that belief and confidence in you, the trust in you? You see, so we have to understand that belief works both ways. So the Quran instructs us very clearly to believe and do what? Do good.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Show your belief by what you do. So now, again, this is another pitfall. I'm just kind of rambling here. This is another pitfall because a lot of people, and your uncle asked me this question. Your uncle asked me this question, brother Jamil. He said, and I didn't even know why he asked me this question. But he asked this question. He said, Brother Alim, what accounts for your longevity in the nation of Islam? Well, I thought I had longevity in the nation of Islam. I'm only 73. What are you talking about? The answer I gave him, which at the time I didn't think was such a good answer, but the more I think about it, I think it was a pretty good answer. Here's what I said to him. I said, I never pretended to believe what I didn't believe. I never pretended to believe what I didn't believe. See, it was like this. See, when you learn about Islam, see, what do they always say about Islam? They say Islam will try you, right? Islam will try you. Yes. But now the way I looked at it, well, if Islam's going to try me, I'm going to try Islam. I'm going to try Islam. See, if Islam is supposed to be all it is, okay, I'm going to try Islam and see if Islam is all it is that it's supposed to be. Or not. They say Islam is mathematics. So I want to know, does it add up then? Now I'm going to try it to see if it adds up. And if it don't add up, then I don't want nothing to do with it. They say Islam is freedom, justice, and equality. The Islam offers to the believer freedom, justice, and equality. So I want to know, if I try this Islam, is that what I'm going to get? Am I going to get freedom? Am I going to get freedom? Am I going to become justified and equal with the best in civilized society?
Yes, sir.
Money, good home, friendship, and all walks of life. Well, I'm here to say, after all these years, yeah, Islam actually passed the test. See, Islam tried me. I hope I passed the test. But as far as I tested Islam has the test. It has delivered on everything that it said it was supposed to deliver on. And the only time Islam came up short was when I came up short. You see, that's the way it works. I'll give you a very practical example of what I mean. See, there were things that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was teaching that I really didn't believe. I mean, to be honest with you, like he was teaching that after the grafting of the white race, he said that some of them, they tried to graft themselves back into the original people, and they didn't know what they were doing and got all messed up. And they ended up grafting themselves back into monkeys and apes.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Now I'm a college student. I'm a science major. I'm a pre-med student listening to a man talk about they grafted themselves back into monkeys and apes. But you know what? See, on Tuesdays, they had the University of Islam down there in Cincinnati. He's the minister down there, David Bachar. He set up the university. So I was in college. So I couldn't teach in the university, teach the students. But he would have me come down there every Tuesday to teach the teacher. Especially because they were a little weak on the science and math. So I would come down every Tuesday to teach the teachers, so then they would get their science curriculum for the coming week. So anyhow, long story short, one Tuesday we made a field trip to the Cincinnati Zoo. So you know the zoo scene, people running around looking at all the different animals, and so I'm kind of bored really. So I'm standing there by the monkey house, and people throwing popcorn and whatever at the monkeys, and the monkeys are grabbing the popcorn and screaming and carrying on like monkeys do, monkey shine. And there's this one old baboon with gray hair. He's just sitting there. He ain't moving a muscle. They throwing popcorn at him. He's not moving a muscle. I'm there looking at these monkeys. I'm saying, now, the Hon Elijah Muhammad said that these monkeys came from the grafting process. They were trying to get back to the original. And he said that these monkeys still remember some of the original language.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I'm looking at this old baboon. I'm saying, well, now it looks like he's a wise old monkey. Seems like he should know something. So I turned to him and I looked at him real stern and I said, Assalamu alaikum. And you know that old baboon, he went and jumped up and started going ballistic in the cave and was knocking the monkeys around. And then he came right back to the same spot and got quiet again. And I looked at him again. I said, Assalamu alaikum. And he went ballistic again. I said, well, I guess the Honorable Elijah Muhammad knew what he was talking about. As strange as that seemed. As strange as that seemed. Now, if somebody told you a story like that, now how could you believe that unless you try it? You have to try it. You have to go to the zoo and talk to the monkey.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Islam that nobody else can teach you. You got taught by a baboon that day.
Amazing, amazing.
The teachers of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad.
Praise be to Allah. And Dr. Alim, you have so many people who are commenting, so many people showing you love and sending you greetings from all over the country and or the world. And Dr. Alim, we have a lot of questions for you. But before we get going, I want to make sure I do a quick 60-second commercial break for all of the sponsors of the People's Podcast this month, because we have a lot of here we go. We have a lot of sponsors of the podcast this month, and I want to follow up with you about your teaching, because so many people have questions about who text me, and thank you for everybody who's putting comments in the comment section. And hold on, there we go. Boom. All right, here we go. And here we go, new sponsorships. All right, thank you. And thank you all right now. My sisters are both sending the greetings. And of course, shout out to the East Coast, all of the believers in New York and the South. Look at people from Los Angeles, Chicago, St. Louis. Some people, my sister said field trip time, Brother Joshua. Okay, now everybody wants to go to the zoo because they want to try what Dr. Alim is saying that everybody wants to do.
If it's true.
Okay, here we go. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right. So for this month, I want to thank all of the sponsors. If you would like to be a sponsor and or donor, please cash app the People's Podcast. Thank you all very much. My brother Rashad, Street Premier Media Production. He has a 4K camera, a drone. He does television and film editing. Thank you very much. My sister Miriam, ABC I Love Me, children's book and coloring book. Both are which are available on Amazon. Please go out and get those. My sister Naima, Stay On Point Dance Academy, LLC. She teaches ballet virtually to young girls all across the country. And right here in the studio in Atlanta, Georgia, Sister Rashida Rafat, Raw Communications. If you are working on a book and you need copy editing, content development, media relations, anything dealing with writing a book, please reach out to Sister Rashida Rafat with Raw Communications. Also, student minister Robert L. Mohammed out of Austin, Texas, doing a great job with conflict mediation and squashing the beef in Austin, Texas, and all around the Southwest region. His wife, Sister Fudia Muhammad, Children of the Most High, Giving Birth to a God, The Science of Child Rearing. Please reach out and get that book. Brother Kenneth, Bowtie Maker Extraordinaire. He'll ship bow ties to you anywhere in the country. Our sister, Sister Sherry Muhammad, Asiatic Minds Online. They do a great job of teaching young kings and queens virtually. And you can send your children to school there, asiaticminds.com. We're coming right back to Dr. Alim. Dr. Henry M. Carter, right here in Atlanta, Georgia. King Henry's Turkey Legs. Brother Rashad Muhammad of Chicago, COVID-19 Disinfecting Cleaning Services. My father's book, A Soldier in the Movement of Christ. Down is Not Out is his new one, both of which are available on abdulsharif.com. And last but not least, my two books, Cleopatra with the K on Amazon, and No Father, No Excuse. Thank you all very much for your patience. We're right back to Dr. Alim. Okay, sir. Now, my next question for you is, you spoke of your wife.
Wait. I got a commercial too.
Okay, let's go with it. Let's go. Let's see what's going on.
Now, this is Add Life Super Green Powder. Okay, this is the most nutritious green powder that's on the market. So you
yes,
can buy
sir. Yes, sir.
Addlife.me. Addlife.me. That's the website. So, and now you can use this to make green cake. Some people know what green cake is. You take the green powder and you mix it with an equal amount of tahini and an equal amount of honey. You mix that together, knead it together, you got green cake. Super food.
Beautiful. Praise be to Allah. And so many people are giving nothing but love in the comments. My next question for you, sir, is you spoke earlier of your wife. There are a lot of people who have, especially young brothers who comment on my comments and who are looking to get married. What advice would you give to young men who are looking, well, young people, period, but who are looking to get married? What advice would you give them?
Oh, well, that's a big question. See, I was lucky. See, if you want to get married, you have to be lucky. And a lot of people are not lucky. The problem that a lot of people make is that they expect one person to be everything to them, and one person can't be everything to you. You see, so the most important thing in a marriage relationship, besides being lucky enough to find your soulmate,
yes, sir,
is you have to be lucky enough to have a friend. That your wife has to be your friend, and you have to be the friend to your wife. Now, I'm a poet, and I wrote a poem. It started out as a poem. It's more than a poem now. It's called The Vows of Friendship and Marriage.
Yes, sir.
And to you so you can share it with the audience. But it's the vows of friendship and marriage, because every friendship does not necessarily end in marriage, but it can be a solid friendship. Now, we need a clear definition of marriage. The best definitions of marriage that I was ever blessed to hear were given by Reverend James Bevel. He defined love as mutual help. So love is the relationship between people who mutually help one another succeed in life.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Well, if you're succeeding in life or failing in life, it's because you had a goal. A person who has no goal or who is aimless doesn't need a wife or a husband. So again, it starts with self-knowledge. Who are you? Why are you here? What is your mission in life? What are you trying to accomplish? What do you want people to remember about you when you're dead and gone? What will they say? Okay, well, now if you're clear about that, well, then who's going to help you do it? Well, that's your husband or your wife, your helpmate. They're going to help you accomplish that goal, because if you're lucky enough, you found someone that's going in the same direction that you're going in. Now, part of the problem in this world that we live in that causes so many failures in relationships is people mistake marriage for sex. You don't have to be married to have sex. You don't even have to be human to have sex. See, we've been trapped into a language trap, really. Did we talk about males and females? Well, I have a biology degree. Male and female are designations given to animals. You see, so now that's part of what's wrong in the current society. You have young women miseducated in a society that teaches them that they are animals. So you have young men who call themselves dogs, and they consider it a term of affection. See, my own son, he once called me my dog. My son called me my dog. I was upset because I was raised as a cool cat. Don't get along.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You see, so we live in this rat, cat, and dog society. So when a man in the image and likeness of God identifies himself as a rat, a cat, or a dog, or some other animal, a beast, and he identifies himself with his lower animal instincts, his biological instincts, and he thinks that that's what life is. And women who do the same. Well, again, you have two beasts that come together to have sex. Well, two dogs copulating is not a marriage. Two beasts in the forest copulating, monkeys in the jungle copulating, that's not marriage. So again, people have to have a higher concept of what marriage and a marriage relationship actually is. But that is only possible when a man knows what a man is. A woman knows what a woman is. But when a man thinks he's just a male and a woman thinks she's just a female, well, hey, that's just biology. That's at the low. Worms are males and females. Grasshoppers are males and females. Okay, so marriage is not for lower creatures. So marriage is for a highly developed individual on a mission in life who then needs help. You see, so I had a mission in life, and I say I'm lucky because Allah blessed me with a helpmate, someone who was perfectly equipped to help me with what I needed help with. I'll tell you a funny story. See, when I asked Mashallah to marry me, at first she turned me down. And I was shocked. She turned me down. And she said, well, why don't you marry one of these smart college girls? Because see, Mashallah didn't even have a high school degree. I think that a doctor marrying somebody that's a high school dropout. So that's the first thing she asked me. How come you don't want to marry one of these smart college girls? I said, honey, because they're not as smart as you think they are. Then she said, well, I don't even have any degrees. I said, that's all right, baby. I got enough for both of them. And then she just laughed. And that was it. You see, because I didn't need help. I didn't need some smart academic scholar debating me and calling that pillow talk. No, I needed somebody that was actually my complement. See, I'm a hard man. A lot of people that know me, see, I came up that way. I'm a hard man. Your father knows. See, he was my husband. He's a hard man, but he also was working with a hard man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And like I used to say, people, I don't deny I'm hard, but I'm fair. See, hard but fair. You see? Well, then what do I need with a hard woman? You know, a woman. So anybody that knew Mashallah know that was the softest, kindest, most beautiful woman that you ever met. I never saw her get mad at anybody. The only person I ever saw her get mad at was me. And she was mad at me because I got mad at people. And she said, what do you get mad at them for? She would put me in check.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
She was my helpmate. She was my soulmate. Because I was unbalanced in a certain way, too aggressive, too strong, too hard, too sharp edged. Yeah, all that's serious and that gets stuff done. But wait a minute, there's another side to life. See, the feminine side.
Yes, sir.
The feminine side. So my wife, she loved being a woman. She loved being feminine. She loved pretty things. She loved, to beautify the home, beautify herself. She wasn't trying to compete with me being a man, trying to hold down a job, trying to hold down a career, see who brings in the most money. She didn't have to bring in no money. Because what was she supposed to get some money for? She's supposed to get it from me.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I'm not saying women shouldn't have careers or can't have careers, but that's not your primary function. This world makes you think it is, but that's how you're deceived. And that's why your life is so unhappy, because you're neglecting your primary function for something that was given to you, as an allurement of this world. So I would just say, as advice for marriage, have a better understanding of yourself. Number one, where did you come from? See, if you're a man or a woman, you're probably going to be much like your own parent. You see, so what was good and bad about your own parent? You see, what were the good, strong points? What were some of the weak points that maybe you could avoid? One of the mistakes, I was married more than once before I got lucky. See, the first marriage I had, the big mistake I made? I didn't visit my first wife's mother's home. I was already married before I visited my mother-in-law's home. When I walked in my mother-in-law's home, there was 6 inches of trash. It was like a wall-to-wall garbage dump. Okay, well, then the woman that I married, she wasn't much better than her mother in terms of housekeeping. Smart as hell, had all the degrees in the world, had as many degrees as me. But I couldn't live with a woman that couldn't keep house. So that was a mistake. If I had visited her mother, my mother-in-law, her mother's home, I would have seen what my future was going to be. You see, I would have avoided a heartbreak. And the same on the other side. See, you're marrying a man. Well, where does this man live? He's living with his mother? When is he going to take care of you? You see?
Yes, sir.
Go visit his mother. Go talk to her. Go talk to his father. You see, well, we'll say, well, his father is absent. Well, then you need to talk to him about that. Because what did that do to his inner peace? He might end up absent, you see?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So what has he done in his life to atone for his father?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Been absent. I'm just making up an example. These are common things.
Absolutely.
Common things. And I would just add one final thing, is that you married a person that you love. And you love them, and you love them for who and what they are. If you're marrying somebody with hopes that you're going to change them, no, you don't change anybody, and nobody really changes you. You see, and so that's where a lot of marriages fail, is that the woman or the man thinks that they're going to change their partner into somebody else that's more acceptable.
Yes, sir.
Well, no, if the change is needed like that, okay, you need to keep looking. You have not found your mate. You see? So those are a few points I would offer to people, considering marriage.
Great, excellent. And thank you, Dr. Alim. Some people.
One more. Let me add one more that's very current. You see, get married as young as you can. Especially girls. You see, because that will preserve your righteousness. it would be better for you to be married and have a family before you go to college. Mm. The way they have you thinking now, you want to go to college first and professional school and start your career. And then by the time you're 38, now you're in a panic because your biological clock has been ticking all this time while you were getting your education and your career. It would actually make more sense for you to get married at 17 or 18 and have a family. If you're going to have 3 or 4 children over a 10 or 12 year period of time, okay, now you're 30, 32. You have your oldest child is 8 or 9 years old, and your youngest maybe 4 or 5. Okay, now you actually know what life is all about. Now is the time for you to go to college. So that by the time you're 40, yeah, you have all of your degrees and in your career, and you have a family, you have a life, and you didn't waste your education on debauchery and partying and all of that. I mean, think of what happens to young women at the peak of their sexual physiologic life. Young women go to college. According to published statistics, 30% of them get raped in college. So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad didn't allow young women to go to college. As a matter of fact, one thing that I had in my story, when all of us college students joined the nation, we had to leave the campus. That's why I was living in the FOI. Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, you have to get off the campus because you cannot maintain your righteousness on a college campus.
What are you teaching? Yes, sir.
And if that was true in 1968, we didn't have co-ed dormitories then.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Going on now, then that is going on now.
You teaching? Yes, sir.
Yeah. See, so again, we have to reimagine our lives. So I would say to young women, get married young, have your family, and put off college until maybe 30. Then you'll finish your education and training by the age of 40. Your family's grown. You got some equity in a home or a business or something like that. Now you're 40, you begin your career. Well, how long are you going to work? You're going to work 25 years, 30 years till you're 65, 70. See, that's a full life. Which the other way, you're in trouble.
Excellent job. And I see my aunt Jamila is in the comments. So many people showing love. Thank everybody who continues to like, share, and subscribe to the People's Podcast. My next question for you, sir, is okay, so the Most Hon Elijah Muhammad departs. You you come back to the nation again. The Most Hon Missiles Parking are rebuilding the nation, and you're working. Can you tell us something that we may not have known about that time period, as far as when you're rebuilding the nation? You're in DC. What were some of the fun times about during that time period?
Okay, but you know, period of time. I can write a good book.
Okay, yes, sir.
About what happened in 1975.
Please.
The departure of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. What do you mean by that? It was announced on radio and television. The leader of the Nation of Islam, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, has passed away from congestive heart failure. Well, I talked to his doctor, who wrote the death certificate. Okay, well, what did he have to say? We had a whole lot to say. Okay, so I mean, at a certain point, we have to talk about the reality of that. You know, so we can't make up stories. We have to actually tell the truth. You see, so I talked to Dr. Charles Williams of the Williams Clinic in Chicago. He was the personal physician of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. He told me the whole story. Okay, so I have to speak as a physician. So now people believe that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is physically alive. Well, I see a death certificate that says he's physically dead. Now, what did he say? See, I was at University Hospital. They announced it in the hospital. I'm a fourth-year medical student. I'm doing ENT. So my chief resident, he was a Muslim from Bangladesh, I think, or Pakistan, someplace like that. He knew the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. He looked at me and he gave me his condolences and says, you can be excused for the rest of the day. I went back to my apartment. I called Minister Theodore Hamza, who was my minister in Cleveland, Ohio. And I said, they're saying on the radio, Elijah Muhammad has passed away. Is that true? He told me, he said, I'm sorry, brother, I just spoke with the family, and unfortunately, the news is true. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad has passed away. Hung up the phone. I ran into the bedroom and threw myself on the bed, crying like a baby. And here's what I said. I prayed to Allah. I said, Allah, take my life. If it would give the Honorable Elijah Muhammad one more day, then take my entire life. Then in that instant, I stopped crying because I remembered what he said. He said the world would say and believe that I am dead, but I will not be dead. But I am going away to receive the new teaching.
Yes, sir.
Around 3 years. You see, that was a general instruction that was given all throughout the nation. Just like everybody else heard. It seemed like most people forgot what they heard. So that's when I pulled myself together and said, I'm not going to believe that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is dead until 3 years have passed. And if 3 years pass and I see no sign of him being alive, then maybe I will accept that he is dead. Well, around that time, about 1978, there was an interview of Minister Farrakhan in the Amsterdam News, where he was rebuilding the nation. By this time, I'm a resident in surgery at Harlem Hospital. So as soon as I read the article, I got my checkbook. I wrote the minister a check. It was either $200 or $300, and sent it to him. And as soon as I put it in the mailbox, I said, "Oh no, that's probably the FBI. They're gonna track me down." Because at that time it was kind of dangerous to be known as a follower of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. The whole demolition of the nation had been complete. So the followers of Wallace D. Muhammad, for example, had taken over Harlem Hospital. And they called me, they called me Elijah's doctor. Because I wasn't for none of it. You see, so I was like the pariah among the Muslims in the hospital and in New York in general. Because every time they tried to explain the teachings of Wallace D. Muhammad to me, it didn't make no sense to me. I drew within myself. And I was saying it's either one or two things. I'm either going crazy or I'm turning hypocrite. Because it don't make no sense to me. This new teaching, it don't make no sense. So now here's what happened that resolved the whole thing. In April of 1976, I went on my first trip out of the country to Jamaica, had a wonderful time. The last night of that vacation was a bright moon, and I'm getting ready to go back to the, Harlem Hospital next day, out of paradise, back in the hill. And I'm out on the beach that night looking at the bright moon, and it's one of them bright nights where you can really see. And so I'm laying there with my eyes closed at a certain point, and I hear the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's voice. I hear him laughing. I open my eyes and I see his image, his face on a cloud. And he's laughing, he's smiling, he's laughing, he's chuckling. And I say to him, "Dear Holy Apostle, what are you laughing about?" And then I see on another cloud, I see the image of Wallace D. Muhammad. And the messenger says, "My joke on the world." And he keeps on laughing. The image disappeared. And that, to me, that was the key. At that point, I said, I'm not going to take this new man seriously. I don't care what he says. I'm not going to take anything he says seriously. It's a joke. Long story short, at a certain point, I made a list. I listed out all of the things that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught that I said that I believed, because I thought I was turning hypocrite. But the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said a hypocrite is one who comes in saying I believe and goes out saying I disbelieve.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Then I listed all of the things that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us that I said that I believed. And then I made a list, a similar list of all the things that Wallace D. Muhammad was teaching to see if I believed any of them. And when I looked at the two lists, everything that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad had taught, I still believed every last one of the things that he ever taught. And when I looked at the list of things that Wallace D. Muhammad was teaching, there was not a single thing on the list that I believed. So that's how I resolved it within myself. I'm not a hypocrite.
Yes, sir.
I claim I believe this stuff that this man is teaching. It don't make no sense to me. But everything that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was teaching, it still makes sense to me the same as it did the first day I heard it. Islam is mathematics, and mathematics makes sense. It adds up. And this other nonsense don't add up at all. And so I just withdrew from the community until I saw the sign of the minister rebuilding the nation.
Praise be to Allah.
And the rest, as they say, is
history. Beautiful. Praise be to Allah. Okay, wow, you giving us some deep stuff to really think about. And so many people are showing you love in the comments. Now, I have a question. Because you went through what you went through, and many of the believers prior to 75 went through what they went through. Now we know the Most High Missiles Farrakhan is going to depart. What advice would you give for the new generation to keep their belief and faith, and to not, let go to the rope of Allah and of Islam, especially in the nation of Islam, specifically I'm talking about?
Well, again, it's a matter of the belief. It doesn't make any difference who's here and who departs. We all come and we all go. So what? So what? The sun, moon, and stars was here when we got here, and then to be here when we're gone.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So again, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad passed off the scene. What happened? Did the world stop? No. Minister Farrakhan is going to pass off the scene. Is the world going to stop? No. I'm going to pass off the scene. You're going to pass off the scene. Everybody's going to pass off the scene. Is the world going to stop?
No, sir. Okay, great.
So again, if we get wrapped up in personality as opposed to principle, you see that we are in trouble. So again, we were talking before about marriage. One of the mistakes we make is we put all of our eggs in one basket, where we expect everything from one person.
Yes, sir.
Relationship between leadership and, say, followers is a kind of a marriage, isn't it?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, so then why should the followers expect everything to come from one man, from one person? I was in a conversation with the minister one time, and he quoted something from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, where he said that, and I'm paraphrasing.
Yes, sir.
The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that if I had 10 ministers like Minister Farrakhan, then I could take America.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Well, I told the minister what my interpretation of that was, because we were talking about the 9 ministries.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
The 10th ministry is the spiritual ministry. So we don't need 10 spiritual ministers like Minister Farrakhan. One's enough. But we need a minister of health that functions at the same level as Minister Farrakhan functions at in the spiritual realm. We need a minister of education that functions at the same spectacular level that the minister functions in the spiritual realm. And so on and so forth through all of the ministries.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
sisters in all these different areas of life. Not everybody just concentrated into one area of life as though all you need to know is spiritual wisdom. You need to know how to dig oil out of the ground.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Grow your food, build cities, engineer dams. Where's your locomotive? Where's your ship? Where's your helicopter? You see, I mean, you know, we say Islam is mathematics. So where's our PhD mathematician?
Yes, sir.
If the Hon Elijah Muhammad says study science and technology, okay, then where's our technology sector? You see, we hear, but we don't obey.
Yes, sir.
We don't make a connection between what we're hearing and what we do. See, we hear things like this. we hear things like they say, well, one learned man is harder on the devil than 1,000 ignorant worshipers. Well, then why are we so easy on the devil?
Yes, sir.
Ignorant. Why don't you become one of those learned men or women so you can beat the hell out of the devil? Why are you staying ignorant? I mean, it's like you're on the devil's side. You want to stay ignorant so he can deceive you and deceive us. And so that you don't have any qualifications to do anything to counter the evil that he's doing.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Quran says, believe and do good. Well, how are you going to do good if you don't know anything? You can believe all you want, but you can't do nothing. What good is your belief? So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, mere belief counts for what? Nothing.
That's right.
You see, so we need qualification, qualified people who are hard on the devil. Why should, and I'm thinking about these things, you know, we live in cities all over the country. Who's the mayor of your city? So you got what, your bottoms or whatever her name is, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
What is she doing being the mayor of a city over you? She don't know what you know. But yet she's ruling you. She's making the rules. We got all these people. I mean, I saw somebody, they put up some post, they talking about the nation of common sense. The nation of Islam is not a nation of common sense. This is a nation of supreme wisdom. You know about common sense. This ain't no common sense operation.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
It's supreme wisdom. So we putting ourselves under the rulership of devils, of poorly educated Negroes. And we sitting around talking about what we believe. Why don't you run for office? So that ignorant fool can't be over you. You complain about what they're doing with the school board. There's no justice in the justice system. Well, why aren't you on the jury? Why don't you sit in the jury so when they were trying to unjustly convict the black man, you would have objected and prevented the man from going to prison?
I agree. Yes, sir.
That's something for us to do, not just believe. But a lot of times we exempt ourselves from, you know, participating in life. We live here. I live in Washington, D.C. You live in Atlanta.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Why don't you take charge of your post? Why are you allowing the people to commit a nuisance on or near your post?
That's right. That's right. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Why don't you enforce instructions that you are instructed to enforce, or violations of instructions you are instructed to enforce?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I mean, what do you think general orders are for?
That's right.
They're in effect every day, everywhere. So I would say one of the differences between the Muslims nowadays and the Muslims prior to 75, you know, the way I came up, see, the Muslims prior to 75, we were trying to take over everything. We would. That's what the messenger said. He said a Muslim tries to take over everywhere. Everywhere yes, we are, we take over. We don't let people rule us. How are you going to let some inferior teaching rule over us?
That's right. That's right. Yes, sir.
I mean, Prophet Muhammad even told you that. You don't oppress anybody, but be not oppressed. And these people are oppressing us. So I don't understand our Islam, that we just allow that. We just allow people just to oppress us, do stuff to us, rule over us, and we don't fight back. I don't understand. And that's another thing. See, See, people talk about the Nation of Islam prior to 75, and they want to bring out a hero, you know. But I'll tell you this, Muhammad Ali was not the only Muslim that knew how to fight. He was not the only one that knew how to fight. Now, he might have got rich and famous for fighting, but all of us knew how to fight.
Wow, yes, sir.
Established Islam. We had to fight.
Praise be to Allah.
And sometimes you came to the mosque and the brother had a bloody nose, or he had a black eye, broken bone. Why? Because he was out there fighting. Why? Because the devil came and said he couldn't sell his papers in front of the Lazarus department store in Columbus, Ohio. Well, how's the devil gonna come and tell a Muslim he can't sell the Lord's word? How are you gonna run a devil? How's the devil gonna run a Muslim off his post?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You stand there and you fight.
Allahu Akbar.
And that's what we did. We fought to establish Islam in the wilderness of North America. And see, that's what young men are for. The young men love fighting. The young men are like that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And really, if you want to bore some young men to death and kill their spirit, you bring them up in peacetime. Man, you bring him up in peacetime where he ain't got to fight. Make it easy for him. Where he ain't got no enemy that'll take him out if he's not watching his back.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You're teaching.
Now we got people walking around, you know, like it's peacetime. They ain't fight. They ain't had a fight. When's the last time? Remember, some of these people, man, talking about their soldiers. Have you asked them, when's the last time you fought somebody? When's the last battle you won? They don't have no scars nowhere. Talking about they soldiers, they fight. Ain't seen no blood nowhere. Ain't knocked nobody out. Ain't nobody died.
That's right.
Ain't nobody get killed. People just dying of natural causes. I don't understand how you gonna die from natural causes in wartime. You know, so again, it's a different tenor. See, like when I was a young fruit, you see, the brother put the gun to my head. Okay, well, I wasn't scared of dying. I ain't scared of dying now.
Allahu Akbar. Yes, sir.
What's dying? See, we love death better than the enemy loves life.
That's right. That's right.
You see, so we were ready to die in a drop of a hat. Ain't nobody back us up over death. Are you kidding? My life and my death is for Allah. See, that's how we went out. And you better know how to fight, because Negroes put guns in your face. That ain't the only gun that somebody put in my face. I had to knock a Negro out down in Cincinnati. He want to see, again, people are loose with their mouth now. Say anything they want about Minister Farrakhan. See, back in the day, would knock you out. You say something would knock you out. You say something about my minister, I will knock you out.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You won't say nothing bad about the Nation of Islam. You won't say nothing about that Nation of Islam, Elijah Muhammad, Minister Farrakhan, or none of the national representatives. We will knock you out.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You don't touch none of our sisters. You touch one, we're coming after you. I don't care what club you hide now, we're coming up in there after
yes, sir.
You.
Yes, sir.
We're going to teach you a lesson, and everybody watching, you're going to learn a lesson. See, Muhammad Ali wasn't the only one that refused to draft. I refused to draft. Everybody in the FOI house refused to draft. See, that was common. What kind of FOI is it that didn't refuse to draft? That's what I want to know. Where was the FOI that went in the army? Where was the FOI that submitted and walked across the line? There wasn't none. Again, Muhammad Ali was just famous. But when they drafted me, what was my response? I took the letter and threw it in the trash can. So guess what they did? They sent me another one. Guess what I did with the second one? I rolled up and threw it in the trash can. And I forgot about it. And guess what? They forgot about me. Now, the other brother that was in the FOI house, Brother William Tuet, see, now he responded. That's a mistake he made. He responded to the letter. So then since he responded, then he had to go to court. So then he is dressed up in his FOI uniform, getting ready to get sentenced to go to prison for refusing prayer. So they call him, he goes down there, his FOI uniform. Are you William X. Hawkins? Yes, sir. Are you refusing to be inducted into U.S. military service? Yes, sir. On what ground? I'm a follower of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Then the judge, now listen to this. The judge, he's leaning over, looking down at brother. Then he rears all the way back behind the bench so you can't even see him. He about two minutes. Then he comes back over. Are you in the same outfit as Muhammad Ali? Yes, sir. He goes back again. Judge comes back. Mr. Hawkins, get out of my courtroom. And if you don't hear from us, we don't want to hear from you. Get out of here.
Praise be to Allah.
Because see, the judge knows the law of Islam. See those judges, and they know Islam.
That's right.
See, so what does the judge know? The judge knows that he who kills a Muslim must die.
Allahu Akbar.
See, that's the law. So you sentence my brother, you sentence yourself. See, so the judge is wise because he understands, these are Muslims that know their own law.
That's right.
They're not afraid to enforce their own law, and they are not respecters of anyone when it comes to enforcing their law. See, so we enforce our law in the midst of their law.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
See, when someone said what they should not have said, and I knocked the man out, I looked to my right, there was the Cincinnati police on the corner. I looked at them, they looked at me, they saluted. They didn't know what it was about, but they know if I knocked a man out, it was for a justifiable reason.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
They didn't mess with me and the brothers that was with me. We don't care who you are. We enforce our law on everybody.
Beautiful.
You see, so that's how we came up. See, and that was the spirit that pushed Islam forward against all resistance. We didn't care. And I think those stories need to be told. And I really appreciate the opportunity to tell some of those stories because nobody ever asked the question. You see, we have a group narrative. And that group narrative is generally true. But within that group narrative, there are individual stories. How did that really happen?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Okay, well, I wanted to, and first of all, you get so many comments, so many people saying praise be to Allah. Beautiful. Come on now. This is excellent to teach, brother. Teach Dr. Alim. Praise be to Allah. Salute to the God, Dr. Alim Muhammad. We have to report. Okay, beautiful. Some people just sharing this, and some people showing love. Praise be to Allah. My next question for you, sir, is the National Agenda, a book, the 9 Ministries, Deliberative Dialogue. How did this come about? And how can we implement that? How can we still utilize the thoughts of this?
Okay, let me make a distinction. National Agenda book, I didn't have anything to do with that.
Okay, okay.
That was written by some other people.
Okay, okay.
If you give me a minute, I'll show you the book that I wrote.
Please, go ahead, take your time. Yes, sir. While Dr. Alim is taking his time, come back with the 9 Ministries, I want to read all of the comments. Wisdom and knowledge and strength, right? Okay, praise be to Allah. Thank you all. Thank everyone who continues to watch People's Podcast. If you all have any guest suggestions, please DM me or inbox me. His name says, praise be to Allah. Mr. Taylor says, Takbir. Beautiful muscle emojis. Excellent. Right away. Boom. If you have any guest suggestions, please DM or inbox me if you have people who you should recommend for upcoming. I'm grateful to Allah for all of the supporters of the People's Podcast. Shout out to Dr. Alim as he gives us this amazing history. And can't wait to put this on YouTube. There's so many talking points. I don't know how I'm going to put this all in the bio. But we'll just go back over this. Him having a gun to his head. The Most Hon Elijah Muhammad writing him a letter about him going to college. Him speaking to the monkey and giving the greetings to the monkey in the zoo. Also, him talking to the doctor, Dr. Charles Williams, who was the Most Hon Elijah Muhammad's cardiologist. Him having a vision of Most Hon Elijah Muhammad. We have so many talking points in this wonderful interview. All right, boom. Dr. Alim, you right here with us. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm sorry. The book I was referring to is called Our Book of Acts. Our Book of, and that was presented to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and the Nation of Islam on, I believe it was September the 7th, 2007, at the Farm Conference. Now that Book of Acts is the program initiative for each of the 9 ministries and the 11 task forces.
Okay.
So the commission for the restructuring and reorganization of the Nation of Islam began in October of 2001 at an 8-day conference at Indian Lakes. And then over the next 6 years, we did a lot of work to develop program initiatives. The program initiatives answer the needs of the nation. In other words, it gives each ministry an agenda that satisfies the needs of the nation.
Yes, sir.
So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that we are to set ourselves in heaven at one.
That's right.
How is that to be done? Well, heaven just is a condition of life. It's not some place you go to. It's a condition of life that you set up for yourself. Well, you're in heaven when all of your needs are met and there are no unsolved problems. You're in hell when your needs are not being met and you have a lot of unsolved problems. So basically what we did over a number of years was we collected a list of all of the problems that we have as a nation, as a people, whether it's the national perspective, regional perspective, local mosque perspective, families, and down to the individual. For example, if you ask the average individual, because the nation is composed of individuals, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
In the nation is because there's problems in the individual lives of people in the nation. So if you have people do an exercise, and maybe the audience can actually do this. If you get a piece of paper and write out all of your personal problems, your major personal problems, what you'll discover is the list is very short. It's not 100 items. It's not even 10. About 5 or 6 or 7. If you get over 10, you're probably exaggerating about something. And that's a different kind of a problem. But if you get down to these are real basic, actual problems that are holding you back in your personal life, it's only about 5 or 6 problems. Well, now, if you think about it like that, how long does it take you to solve 6 problems or 7 problems or 10 problems? Well, suppose you do have 20. How long does it really take you to solve 20 problems? Well, most of them, once you just look at it to see what it is, it's solved just like that. You know, you need another job, you know.
Yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir.
The solutions to most of the problems that plague us are obvious once you look at it. But when they're hidden or you think you have a million problems, you see, then they all disappear, you know, in a blur. So if everybody did that, you see, solve their problems, and this gets to your issue about deliberative dialogue. See,
yes,
how do we go about solving individual problems that may involve you? How do we go about solving collective problems? See, if we're taught that we're all gods, you're a god, I'm a god, everybody's a god. Okay, well now, how am I going to be a dictator over you? What kind of God would I be if I submit to another God? So if if I'm in my godship and you're in your godship, everybody's in their godship. Okay, well, how are we supposed to rule one another? Well, the only possible solution is deliberative dialogue. Isn't this what the wise scientists did at the root of civilization?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Together. It wasn't one of them that came in there with a whip and whipped all the rest of them in line.
That's right.
We have people going around talking about Allah is a dictator. No, he's not. When's the last time Allah threw a thunderbolt at somebody for eating a pork chop? That's what he would do. But Allah don't do that. He tells you don't eat it, but he don't come after you. He's not a dictator trying to tell everybody what to do. He tell you if you do this, you'll be in heaven. If you do this, you'll be in hell.
Yes, sir.
It's cause and effect. It's science. You see, so we began with that approach, that through deliberative dialogue, we can tell the truth. We can tell our individual truth to one another. And if we're willing to listen to one another, you see, if we have received the supreme wisdom from the supreme being in our midst today, well, that's great. But each one of us has to view that supreme wisdom through the lens of our own individual experience.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Otherwise, how else could I understand it? Except through the lens of my own experience. Well, if I never get to examine my own experience, if I never get a chance to tell my own story, to analyze what happened to me, how can I possibly analyze the supreme wisdom that's being given to me from somebody that I've never even met? You see, so it begins with dialogue. I have to tell my truth. You have to tell your truth. Everybody has to have the opportunity to tell their truth. Then you put all that truth together, then you have a higher truth. And that higher truth will contain within that higher truth, of course, is the solution to the problems that you've been dealing with. So now what do you call the process by which problems are solved? We use dialogue as the medium of communication, but what do you call the process by which these problems are solved that are causing us to suffer? It's called atonement. It's the 9 steps of atonement. People were only taught 8, but there are actually 9 steps. You see, but it's a science that has to be applied. There's no difference between the atonement process and what is called the scientific method, or it's called the Socratic method.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
What is called the process of healing. They all follow the same 9 steps in sequence. And so if we're wondering what's wrong with our life, why my personal life is the way it is, I'm suffering from something, or my marriage, or my family life, or my business, or my mosque life, or church life, or community life, or national life is not what it's supposed to be, where there's something to atone for. So can you point out what is wrong? Even if it's yourself.
Yes, sir.
You see, and then follow those steps in a meaningful way. Where we operate, many of us, on such a low level of understanding that we think atonement means simply saying, I'm sorry. You don't need a process of atonement to say, I'm sorry. Your mother taught you that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
It's just common courtesy. Atonement is a science. But again, we shy away from science, don't we?
Yes, sir.
We don't want to study history. We don't want to take biology. We don't want to study physics. We don't want to take mathematics. We want numerology. We don't want to study astronomy. We want astrology. You see? We don't want to learn the science of history. We just want to memorize a bunch of facts.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Now, again, what I'm saying doesn't apply to all of them. When you make general sweeping statements like that, that doesn't apply to everybody, but it does apply to us in general. And so what we have to ask for, even though in general we are a certain way, hard-headed, stiff-necked, and rebellious,
yes, sir.
Yet it is still among the hard-headed, stiff-necked, and rebellious people, there are those who do understand and who do shine forth. And so it's now time for those people of understanding and experience and qualification to step forward. So you ask the question, what are we going to do when the minister leaves? I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to do exactly what we're doing right now. So what is that? Is it enough to survive? No. So before the minister leaves, if you want to say, what will we do when he leaves? But why don't you up your game? So that we'll know how we're going to eat. We know how we're going to live. We know how we're going to survive. We know how we're going to raise our families and educate our children. Know how we're going to bring in that great, glorious future that was promised by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
See, what was the name of the conference in 2007? It was called Making His Word Our Bond. Because His word is our life. The word is bond, bond is life. But whose word is it? It's His word.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
See, some people say, well, what do we have to atone for? What's this atonement thing all about? What do we have to atone for? You have everything to atone for. Look at it this way. Suppose Master Fard Muhammad, the people say they believe that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is still alive. How about Master Fard Muhammad? You think he's still alive? Well, suppose he showed up. He knocked on your door and said, I'm here. I'm here. Sir. Suppose he showed up for dinner. What would you feed him? What did you eat? You see, so you should be expecting him to knock at your door. And when he does, then you should be able to give him what would be proper. Now, I'm making a little joke out of it.
No, yes, sir, I'm with you.
Is if you ask the question, what do we have to atone for? When you look at the magnificence of what Master Fard Muhammad gave to us, and you compare that to what we are doing with it, we have a whole lot to atone for.
Yes, sir.
The people say they believe that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is still alive. Well, if you really believe that he's still alive, then why are you in the condition that you're in? Do you think he would be pleased with you and me if he showed up tonight and saw us like we are? See, that shows that a lot of people who say they believe he's alive, they really don't believe it. Because if they really believed he was alive, they'd be shaking in their boots to be found in the condition that they are presently in.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, see? So if you really believe it, then you would straighten up. Because you would realize you have a whole lot to atone to Master Fard Muhammad for what we have done and twisted up with what he gave us, and how we have expressed it and given it to the people, misrepresented it.
Yes, sir.
Been
yes,
bad examples of. Here we have a teaching called How to Eat to Live from God in Person, and we don't practice it. We have a whole lot to atone for to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. When he looks at the nation that he left us with, and the nation we have now. If you did the math, according to the National Secretary Abbas Rasul in 1974, the Nation of Islam had a sales product of $50 million. You know that famous.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
In terms of today's dollars, if the nation had not been destroyed and that $50 million disappeared, if that had not happened, and you had an annual growth rate of about 7%, what would that $50 million be today? It would be about $4 billion. If you do the math. So now it's like the parable of the man who gave out the talent.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And one man, he just buried his. He didn't do nothing with it.
Yes, sir.
The other ones did different things. But the one that did the most, when the man returned, he was outraged. What? I gave you all of this and you didn't do nothing but bury it in the ground?
That's right. That's right.
But the man who invested his talent, see, what's the word talent mean? Skill. Qualification.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I invested in myself. I understand I'm the true value. I bring my value to work. I produce a valuable product for myself.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I am the maker. I am the owner.
That's right.
You see, so when you come back after 40 years, I'm going to show you what I grew from what you gave me.
Teacher.
So if he comes back and you don't have nothing to show for it, okay, well, you better have an atonement program.
Yes,
this is all you did.
Teacher.
And then, of course, not only do we have to atone to God in person and his messenger, don't we have to atone to the people?
That's right.
That God came to save? You see, in the Bible, it says that the kingdom of God is compared to a mustard seed, which is the smallest seed.
Yes, sir.
In the garden, but it grows into the largest tree. And it's compared to the kingdom of God because every bird has a resting place in that tree. So it means that you have to build the kingdom of God. You build the nation of God big enough, with enough places in it for everybody.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
The resting place. Not just the select few, the big eyes, and leave out the little U's. You ain't got no place. You got a profession. We don't have no place for you to work your profession. You say you're in human resources. You're a human resources specialist, but we ain't got no work for you to do. You're an electronics engineer, but we have no work for you to do. All we got for you to do is stand post. You see, so the kingdom of God has to be big enough and broad enough and diverse enough that every diverse person, see, we have a lot of people walking around now, brother, that think that they are misfits. They're not misfits. There's just no place for them. Fit in somewhere if you create a place for them. But it's just like the stone that the builders rejected.
That's right.
They didn't have a good enough plan to account for that odd-looking stone. We look at all of the odd-looking people we got among us. You see, so we have to have a plan that is big enough and complex enough and detailed enough and comprehensive enough that it includes everybody. How can you have a nation with just 4 laborers? When we looked into it, say the government in the District of Columbia, not about the local government, they have 45,000 employees. Just in the executive part of the government. So now if you say, well, how big of an administrative or management staff would it take to run the Nation of Islam? To take care of the needs of all Black people? If that's all you want to limit yourself to. How big a staff would it take to do that? An administrative staff? What kind of bureaucracy would you have to have? Handle that. So if you're not operating on that level, you see, then we're going to fall short in providing food, clothing, shelter, education, healthcare, and all of the other needs of our people. And then because they are deprived of their necessities, then this breeds what? Dissatisfaction. And that leads to trouble. When you look in the mosque or any other organization, and there's trouble, you got a troublemaker. Why are they making trouble? Because they're dissatisfied. But why are they dissatisfied? Because they have an unmet need. So you can get mad at them if you want to and throw them out. The best thing to do would be to find out, what do you need, brother? What do you need, sister? And then find a way to deliver what they need. Then you don't have to throw them out. And then, of course, what you'll find out is that whatever that brother needs or that sister needs, there's 100 other people need the same thing. As a matter of fact, you find out you need what they need.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So when you're helping them, you're helping yourself.
Beautiful. Praise be to Allah. What, man, Alim, I want to make sure, so many people showing you love. I want to make sure I stress this on behalf of myself, my family, and the viewing audience of the People's Podcast. We want to thank you for your sacrifice, sir, and the sacrifice of your family for helping to establish Islam. I mean, from prior to 75 to the 80s, 90s, and up until now, that means a lot to us, sir.
Wait, I appreciate all of that, but you know, that's not how I look at it. See, people say that all the time, all your sacrifice. I say to them, what sacrifice are you talking about? The Hon Elijah Muhammad promised that he would put us in heaven while we live.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And that I am living in heaven while I live. Understand that? I'm not sacrificing. I have never gone a day hungry unless I was fasting.
Yes, sir.
They say that Allah will try you with all these things. Okay, I remember the day I spent my last $20. I didn't know it was my last $20, but it was my last $20 for a long, long time. But after that, I ain't never had a day when I didn't have money. I don't know what people are talking about. When I wanted to go to medical school, I got into my first choice medical school. What sacrifice are you talking about? I wanted to be a surgeon, so I ended up being trained by the top surgeons in the country. What sacrifice are you talking about? I wanted to do something meaningful in life, and I found out there's a man named Minister Louis Farrakhan, and he allowed me to help him. What sacrifice are you talking about? I don't understand what you mean. I got tired of working for people, so then 35 years ago, I was able to establish my own clinic. What sacrifice are you talking about? You think it was a sacrifice for me to leave Howard University and go out on my own? That wasn't no sacrifice. There was a joy. So again, I mean, my family has lived a very wonderful life. Ain't nobody in my family starving. They're not going around in raggedy clothes.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Ain't nobody in the hospital. I don't understand people about this sacrifice. No, Allah came and blessed us. I didn't get cursed. I got blessed.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That's why I tell people I'm the luckiest man in the world. I don't know anybody luckier than me. So I don't even understand what you're talking about. I didn't sacrifice nothing.
Yes, sir.
I got everything. I didn't sacrifice. What did I give up? I didn't give up nothing. That was good. Again, we got this crazy idea that you Jesus on the cross suffering. I didn't suffer. Ain't nobody hung me up on the cross.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I know the IRS came and took all my money, but so what? I found out I didn't need none. Whose money is it anyhow? The Bible says, render unto Caesar's that which is Caesar.
That's right. That's right.
So even though I didn't have no money for a long time, I didn't suffer no pain. I never went hungry. Never got put outdoors. So again, I don't even understand people talking about sacrifice. I mean, maybe I think our ancestors sacrificed.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
The world, it ain't been nothing but luxury and blessings and peace and happiness. I mean, I'm about the happiest person that I know. So I guess there are people out there making sacrifices, but it ain't me.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I don't know what they're talking about.
Beautiful. Praise be to Allah. But and so many people showing you love too, Dr. Alim. They're saying, think on that. This is amazing. So humble, so amazing, incredible, beautiful. Thank everybody who continues to like to share this, the People's Podcast. Well, speaking of being happy, what are you doing for fun to keep yourself happy, during the pandemic? What are you doing for fun?
I bought an e-bike, electric bike.
Okay.
Yes, that changed my life. So I get myself out of lockdown every day, and I live in a very safe area, so I can ride for miles and miles every day, get the wind and the sun and the element. And then the other thing that I'm doing that's very beneficial and fun is Tai Chi.
Okay, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I have a personal Tai Chi instructor, and I've been doing it for about 2 years. And so it takes about 2 years before you actually start to get the science of it. And it's just a beautiful, beautiful art form as well as health and exercise system. So that's what I do for fun. And then, of course, I paint. Maybe you can see a painting behind me.
Yes, sir. You did that?
Huh?
You painted that?
Oh, yes. My whole house is full of paintings that I did. Matter of fact, I need to have an art auction.
Man, please. Yes, sir.
Paintings I need to sell.
Okay, great. Let's help you out with that.
I need to sell them. So if anybody wants to buy some paintings, let me know. I'm trying to get rid of them. They're getting in the way.
Okay, great. And some people saying this is so good. Praise be to Allah. Okay, great. And one more thing I want to say to you, Dr. Alim, is that with your paintings, your poetry, your music, there's so much that we didn't know, that I didn't know personally, that you had all these talents. So I'm glad that you sharing them with us on the People's Podcast over our interviews. I've learned so much about you.
But look, that's true about everybody. See how many people out there are just like me. Now look, now these paintings. See, I was talking about my wife before.
Yes, sir.
Do you know that I have been painting? I've been an artist all my life. But people are so nasty to you sometimes. They laugh at you and ridicule. I was ashamed of my art. One of the reasons why nobody knew that I was doing that was because I did it in secret. And then one day my wife, she was cleaning up the basement, and I had all my art hidden behind a sofa in the basement. And she said, honey, what are you doing with all these paintings? She didn't even know. It was a secret. I was ashamed of it. And so then that year for my birthday, I walked into my office, and she had taken some of the paintings and she had them professionally framed. And I walked in the office and she had my paintings hanging on the wall. I almost fainted. Because up until that moment, I never recognized the value of what I was doing.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I thought it was a waste of time. And there were plenty of people telling me it was a waste of time. People telling me, oh, that poem's no good. Or what's that painting supposed to mean? People giving you negative feedback. And so then you learn to hide that. And so all praises due to Allah for my wife, mashallah. She brought me out of the dark and said, no, you need to display this. And so then with her encouragement, you see, then I've developed, since then, in a lot of other areas. And I'm not ashamed to be myself.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Well, Dr. Alim, this is why I love doing the interviews on the People's Podcast, because growing up, you were one of the most confident people I've ever seen. I would have never known that you were nervous about people's critiquing you, because you always seem so strong and confident. I would never guess that. I would have never guessed that. Praise be to Allah. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Again, see, there's a public image, and then there's a private image. In private, I'm a very shy person. A lot of people think I'm bold. No, I'm very shy. And in most social settings, I would be the quietest one in the room. Everybody else acting, running their mouth. I'm just sitting there, So my private personality is one thing, but then you have a responsibility. You see, when I joined the nation, you know what the biggest hurdle for me was? Selling the paper.
Oh yes, sir.
Because I was shy. I couldn't even approach people. Plus, I stuttered. I wore big, thick glasses. Now you can go out there and talk to these wild Negroes about buying the paper. You see? But see, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that if you're afraid, and I was, he said, if you're afraid, get behind me. Well, I'm not afraid. And so that's why I got behind him. And then they taught us sales techniques that allowed me to be able to meet the public. And then, you see, then that led to other things. Once I began to be able to meet the public, to be able to sell them the Muhammad Speaks and overcome all of their objections to buying the paper, next thing I know, I'm in the ministry. So here I am in the rostrum. I'm looking out at the audience at the same people that were on the street the other day that I was trying to sell a paper to.
Yes, sir.
That's what's on their mind. The same questions that were on the minds of the people in the street, those are the same questions that they bring with themselves to the mind. That becomes the lecture. So now as I became a better and better Muhammad Speaks salesman, I could go out, listen good now. In 1970, or I believe it was, the National Secretary announced that the weekly quota per brother for Muhammad Speaks was 300 newspapers per week. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad wanted 1 million papers a week, and the only way to get it was if every brother sold 300 papers a week. Well, now we came from an extraordinary mom. So our minister, David Bachar in Cincinnati, he said, well, if the average brother is being asked to sell 300, we're not the average. We're the foremost. So in Cincinnati, we sold 900 papers a week. See, that was my goal. I'm in college. I got a job. And I'm selling 900 newspapers per week. Now, if you're selling 9, and I was a straggler. I wasn't even in the top 10. I wasn't even in the top 20.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Because the brothers who could really sell papers, they were selling 2,000, 3,000 papers a week. But the point I'm making is, if you're selling 900 papers a week, well, you overcame a whole lot of objections and answered a whole lot of questions.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So by the time you find yourself on the rostrum, hey, you're prepared to answer everybody's question. Because you ran into everything and every type of person on the street. That's where you got your training as a minister, on the street,
yes, sir.
In the neighborhood, knocking on the doors, looking behind the windows, seeing how people really live, not how they pretend to live. You smell the urine in the couch. You see the baby crawling in filth. You see the reality of your people's existence. You get that on with the paper. And then you have something to talk about when you get on the roster.
Beautiful. Okay, great. Well, I want to thank you. Oh, so many people are watching and showing love. Thank you all for watching the People's Podcast. I want to thank you again, Dr. Alim, for this magnificent information and inspiration you've given us dealing with the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and what he deposited in you and what you brought out today. Thank everyone who's watched the People's Podcast. This is Joshua Leonard Muhammad signing off for the People's Podcast. Assalamu alaikum, sir.
Alaikum salam. Thank you very much.
Thank you again, sir.